Stephen Fish, Professor of Political Science at the University of California, Berkeley. Welcome to you very much. Good to have you on the programme. What do you make of this move, the significance of this? We don't know if these are nuclear-armed or just nuclear-powered submarines, do we?
Well, Samantha, I don't think there's a lot of meaning in this in strategic terms, in military terms. You know, nuclear submarines are always positioned in a way that they can attack the enemy. The United States has them, Russia has them, and moving them around a bit really isn't going to make much difference. It's not even clear that's actually going to happen. What this is really on Trump's part is a signaling game. He's basically saying, look, you know, we've heard Medvedev go off on this, and Medvedev does this on a weekly basis. You know, he threatens that Russia will incinerate New York and Los Angeles and Berlin and Paris, and he does this on and on. This is a big game of his. More alarmingly, though, every couple of months, especially since the second Russian invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022, Putin himself has rattled the nuclear saber. Interestingly, the only leaders in the world who do that are those guys, Russia. And of course, Russia's state-owned media is constantly making these, trotting this stuff out. And Kim Jong-un of North Korea. The United States typically doesn't respond at all to this. What Trump has done is say, you know, enough. We're paying attention to this. There might be limits to our tolerance of this kind of thing. Now, that said, Trump would be well advised, probably not to just get into this kind of back and forth with Dmitry Medvedev. If he really wants to stand up to Russia, then, of course, he needs to aid Ukraine more strongly, finally apply the sanctions against Russia for the war in Ukraine that he has threatened month after month, but never seems to get around to applying. And, of course, apply the secondary sanctions, which Congress just approved for him to use against the countries that are actually propping up Russia's war machine, and prominently China. Those would be more serious moves. But what he did today is a bit of a signaling game, but it really doesn't have anything to do. It doesn't have a great deal of strategic significance.
So given you were talking there about sort of next moves, we were hearing that Steve Witkoff is on his way to Moscow for meetings there. What can we expect, do you think, from that, given this latest move, this announcement in the past few hours, and this deadline that Donald Trump imposed for Putin to end the war in Ukraine?
It's very hard to say. The fact is, for most of his political career, going back to the 2016 election, Trump has been on Putin's side. He's been Putin's guy to an extent that is really almost inexplicable. And as he came to office for the second term in January of this year, he seemed to make clear that he wanted to give up America's role in the traditional role in the world as a defender of its force multiplying alliances with its Atlantic partners in favor of kind of becoming a junior partner in Vladimir Putin's autocracy international. Now, in recent months, it looks like Trump has gotten a little bit tired of Putin's unwillingness to play ball on anything resembling a settlement with Ukraine. Because remember, for Trump, it's all about Trump. And what Trump dreams about is being the hero of world peace. In this case, it would mean kind of playing a big role in settling the war between Ukraine and Russia. What he's seeing is that Putin has no interest in stopping the war against Ukraine. And that has frustrated Trump, can help explain perhaps some of his behavior.
If Putin does have no interest in ending this war, how will that come about?
Well, we certainly don't know that. The only way that Russia can be dissuaded from continuing to prosecute this war is if the cost of doing so outweighs what Putin regards as the benefits. And Putin sees, conquering Ukraine, even bits of it, as an extremely important value to him. He doesn't think Russia can really even be a secure, serious country unless it conquers and annexes Ukraine. The only way to stop him is for the sanctions against him and for the military pressure that is aimed against him to be so overwhelming that he is willing to give up that goal. The short-term prospects for that don't seem to be very great. But again, if the United States really aided Ukraine strongly, sanctioned the countries, namely China, who are backing Russia's war effort, and really applied very harsh sanctions on Russia in concert, of course, with America's European allies, that could actually give Putin pause. So far, we've not seen that kind of resolve on the part of the Trump administration. We'll see now whether actually Trump has it in him to move in that direction.
Professor Stephen Fish, really interesting to get your analysis. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure, Samantha.